should denominate their net worth in Bitcoin over the next 10 to 20 years because, eventually it will go to $1 million. I'm not saying now, but in 10, 20 years, that's probably where it's headed. As soon as Trump started winning, you could literally see it live on the charts, right? As soon as he won a state, Bitcoin would jump. It just comes down to markets like certainty. And this is why I'm pretty bullish on crypto for the next 2 months, because I think we all agree that over the next 10 years, Bitcoin is going to much higher numbers than it is now. So I think we need to look at that and say, okay,
Bitcoin's future is brighter than you think, and Gio Paris is here to explain why it could reach $1 million in the next 10 to 20 years. Forget the skeptics, because Gio believes the crypto revolution is unstoppable. Don't miss what he has to say about the future of Bitcoin.
in a bit more depth later, but Bitcoin I think is here to stay. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I think everyone watching this should denominate their net worth in Bitcoin over the next 10 to 20 years because, eventually it will go to $1 million. I'm not saying now, but in 10, 20 years, that's probably where it's headed. But for now, you can trade the cycles and make a lot of money. But yeah, I started with... I think the biggest misconception is people underestimate the lifespan of Bitcoin and that Bitcoin is going to be here for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Everything else, bar maybe Ethereum and Solana, maybe Sui or another layer one now, everything else is probably going to zero. But I think people underestimate the power of Bitcoin. And when you look at companies like MicroStrategy, who adopted Bitcoin as their treasury asset, right? So they basically took all their US dollars, put it into Bitcoin. Now what they're doing is issuing more shares so that they can basically borrow money against it to buy more Bitcoin. And MicroStrategy is up more than Bitcoin in the last 12 months. And I think that kind of shows where we're going. And it's a bit of game theory as well that, because they're doing it, because Bitcoin's going up, other companies will jump in.
Yeah.
We're even seeing countries now, like El Salvador, use the country's money to buy Bitcoin. There's talk of America doing it now. And that's
especially now that Trump's in power.
Exactly, right? So now we've got, a pretty crypto-friendly office. That's going to be a theme. And if America do it, that opens the floodgates to
the whole
UK.
world.
Yeah, the whole world.
Yeah.
Markets don't like uncertainty. Markets love certainty. So when we were going through the elections, when you look at things like Polymarket, Trump was the favorite and Bitcoin was kind of trending up when he was the favorite. And then as soon as Kamala was the favorite on the polls or in prediction markets, Bitcoin tanked, right?
Yep.
So markets were kind of waiting for that certainty that Trump was going to win because they knew if Trump got in, then he was going to, probably get rid of Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, who's very anti-crypto and has caused a lot of problems for the crypto industry. And just generally, it would be a pretty crypto-friendly office, right? As soon as Trump started winning, you could literally see it live on the charts, right? As soon as he won a state, Bitcoin would jump, right?
Yeah.
It just comes down to markets like certainty. And this is why I'm pretty bullish on crypto for the next 2 months because we have certainty that Trump's going to get in office in January, and nothing can kind of go wrong bar any black swan events until January.
Yeah.
So I think, being long into year end, into early January when he gets into office, if somebody is heavily invested in XRP or they really believe that XRP is going to $500, they don't know much about crypto. They've probably got surface level knowledge about crypto. Now I need to caveat that. I think XRP is a great trade, right? But it comes back to everything bar Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum and Solana is just a big game of musical chairs. And it's all driven by narratives and hype. So long term, XRP, in my opinion, doesn't have any fundamental value. Fundamentally, it's going to zero. But what it does have is a cult. It's got people who genuinely believe XRP is going to be the next...
moon. Yeah,
to the moon. It's going to be the next world reserve currency.
Yeah.
That's not the case, right? So if cryptocurrencies were valued on fundamental value, then XRP would be zero, in my opinion.
Yes.
Right? Because you've got Ripple, the company that's worth something. XRP is not. And again, people won't like this in the comments and people will probably send shots, but that's just ultimately the reality. But cryptos aren't valued based on their fundamental value. They're based on, or they're valued based on narratives and hype.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And that's why it's a, multi-billion-dollar asset. It might be hard for you to open a bank account in the UK. You can still create a wallet and somebody can send you money from the other side of the world and it can be with you in less than a minute, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the real value of cryptocurrency, and that's the real value of Bitcoin. We can send $1 trillion worth of value to the other side of the world. We can pay $10 in fees and it'll be there in a minute. That's the real value of crypto. If, I don't know, if there was a war in the UK, we had to flee. If we take all our gold or all our watches, all our cash, it's heavy. We could literally have a ledger or even on our phone, could take millions of dollars across the border and nothing, no one can stop it, right? So that's the kind of like decentralization aspect. But I think regulation long term will be good. And we'll start to see it more with ETFs. So we've already seen Bitcoin, we've seen Ethereum, and there's talk of, XRP ETF, there's talk of Doge ETF. The ETF providers, they make money from ETFs because they charge fees, right? So if people want to trade Doge, they're going to try and push it through. And I think this is another narrative that will probably be a good trade for meme coins as a whole, like more established meme coins, things like WIF on Solana, will probably benefit from that Doge narrative. So for example, when Bitcoin got its ETF, Ethereum and Solana started outperforming Bitcoin because people are front running what's probably going to happen next, right? So markets are forward looking. So if you pull up that same chart of ETH BTC, you'll see it tends to bottom in December. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure 5 out of the last 7 Decembers, ETH has had a major bottom. So we are very close, and I even put up a tweet about this the other day. ETH BTC has either bottomed already or will bottom at some point before Christmas. We are very, very close, in my opinion, to the bottom in ETH BTC. And when ETH BTC starts to run, that opens the floodgates for 5 out of the 7 roughly Decembers have been a bottom in ETH BTC.
Okay.
If you look at 2020 in particular, because that's probably most relevant to this year, because 2020 was an election year, it was a halving year as well. The ETH BTC bottom was in December, and altcoins really started to run in January. So that's Bitcoin dominance. So that's basically of the total cryptocurrency market, how much is Bitcoin as a percentage of total
the whole
market cap?
of all cryptos.
Of all cryptos, yeah. So the total market cap at the minute is about 3 trillion. So Bitcoin dominance is 65% roughly at the minute.
59.1% right now.
Yeah. So normally when ETH BTC bottoms, Bitcoin dominance tops, and that's when altcoins really get their run
down
until May 2021.
Yeah.
That's the move that I think is coming. I don't think we've got 5 months, but I think we've probably got a good 3 months of Bitcoin dominance dropping, which is when the altcoins really rip.
Gio Paris is firmly bullish on Bitcoin, and he argues that it's not just a trend, but a long-term shift in how we define wealth. He believes that Bitcoin's lifespan will extend for decades, unlike most altcoins, which he predicts will eventually fade into nothing. He highlights companies like MicroStrategy, which have embraced Bitcoin as a treasury asset, and points to nations like El Salvador using Bitcoin as part of their monetary system. Gio also discusses the role of Bitcoin in the current geopolitical climate, with the market reacting positively to Trump's election. As Bitcoin's price approaches new highs, Gio explains how global uncertainty and rising adoption are fueling this surge. If you're still doubting, Gio insists that Bitcoin's value will only increase, making it essential for anyone to start accumulating now before it's too late.
In the very short term, over the next week or two, I think we probably have some kind of pullback into, 88, maybe the early 80Ks, something like that. Then going into January, I'm quite bullish on Bitcoin, but there does need to be a flush. So short term, 1 to 2 weeks, I'd say I'm bearish. Next 1 to 2 months, I'm bullish. And then Bitcoin will probably top in maybe January, February. After Bitcoin tops, altcoins will probably run for 2 to 4 weeks. And then that'll be it. Everything drops. Nobody talks about crypto anymore. And then we probably have another run when global liquidity starts to pick up. So Bitcoin is very correlated with global liquidity, or like M2 money supply, which in simple terms is the amount of money circulating. We haven't seen that start to tick up yet, but Bitcoin has been running. So I think Bitcoin probably tops, everything drops, everyone hates crypto again, it's all a scam. Then M2 starts increasing, there's more money in the system, everyone's got more money, and then it probably goes up again. But if you look at the correlation between NFTs and the watch price index, they are very, very correlated. So if you look at the watch price index right now, I think it's hit a new low in the last few weeks, right? And the reason is because NFTs are a way for crypto guys, or anyone, to digitally flex. Anyone who had a Bored Ape, it was like having a Patek, right? Now, watches aren't doing what they were, the same as NFTs.
Yeah.
When watches start to pick up, when people have money to flex again, then NFTs will start to go up. So I don't think we're at the phase in the cycle where NFTs are going to do well just yet. It's normally kind of like as in normally it happened once, but again, like this cycle is a little bit different because meme coins are so prominent, right? So meme coins will drain some of that liquidity that NFTs might have seen, but I still think they'll have their day. I still think there'll be a trade there. One collection that I've got a few NFTs in is Mad Lads, which is one of the biggest on Solana. So again, my kind of thesis is that people will make money in Solana when it goes to $400 or $500. They'll cash out, they'll make money in meme coins. They'll think, okay, what can I spend this on? And they'll look to Solana NFTs. So I think we all agree that over the next 10 years, Bitcoin is going to much higher numbers than it is now. So I think we need to look at that and say, okay, how do I want to play this? Do I want to buy Bitcoin every day? There was a story recently of a guy, for the last 7 years, he put $30 in Bitcoin every single day. Total invested was like $86,000. He's now at $1 million. Things get really heated, we sell. And when nobody likes Bitcoin, then we buy, So it's understanding the trend and then deciding how to capitalize on it. I'm fine if I don't make any money this quarter or even the next 6 months if my system has a period of drawdown, which every system does, right? Even equities, we saw it in 2022, right? The S&P goes up 12% a year on average, but in 2022, it went down 20%, right? And that's just how markets work, kind of ebbs and flows. You have periods where the markets are trending, you have periods where the markets are ranging, and no system works perfectly in every single market environment. So being able to diversify and kind of doing a bit of everything that you said just then, I think helps you to trade with a clear mind. Also, trading is a great way to accumulate wealth, but long term, you want to diversify. And if you look at, most wealthy people, they're diversified in property, or, they're VCs, they've got their fingers in multiple different businesses. So I think being diversified is the key to keeping your wealth. But initially, to get it, you need to find one thing, double down on that one thing, be super aggressive. But then once you've got it, then you can kind of go on defense a little bit and diversify.
Yeah.
Gio Paris isn't just talking about Bitcoin's rise. He's living proof that understanding the market's potential now can change your financial future. With Bitcoin poised for growth, it's time to rethink how you manage your wealth. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a newcomer, his advice is clear. Bitcoin's future is here, and you'll want to be part of it. Stick around to see how you can prepare for the massive gains ahead.